Okay, this mule is going to be sensitive when the ropes are around her back end, and that's common. So all I'm going to do here is let her experience that a little bit. Try to stay up here where I'm somewhat safe. I hadn't planned on working on this today, but it came up, so I'm going to work on it. If, like I said yesterday, if you get yourself in a mode where you think, I've got to take step 1, then step 2, then step 3, and I better do it exactly the way, you know, Joe Smo mule trainer taught me on the mule tapes, then you're going to get yourself into a disappointing situation because the mules don't follow those steps. They throw different behaviors at you, and you have to be ready to adjust your training techniques or adjust your goal for that day based upon how the mule's responding that day. So you train the mule like it is today. You ride him like it is today. When you go out to work with your animal, if you find something that isn't exactly what you wanted to work on, that's all right. Work on it anyway. So I'm just going to keep flipping that rope back there, and she's moving around, and that's perfectly fine with me. She can move all she wants. There you go. She can move all she wants to get away from what's scaring her. I'm not going to confine her and make this worse. You know, I could tie her to a post or tie her to a fence here and do this. That's something. Okay, did you see that? There was the first major change in that. We got 2 changes. She stopped and let that rope go around her leg, started licking and chewing, which is a sign that she's relaxed. She's thinking about what happened instead of just reacting to what happened. So let's try it again. That was a lot better right there. Now, like I said before, my techniques on a mule are much different than on a horse. There are 3 or 4 times she let me throw that rope around her back leg, and it didn't bother her. So I'm going to stop on that side. Whereas with the horse, I probably just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. Whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. You'll hear people say that your horse can't remember from one side to the other, that it's like learning it from brand new. And to some degree that's true with horses. Well, that's true with horses. There, we got it. But my experience with mules has been that you do have to train both sides. Let me get that right out. You absolutely have to train both sides and always train the weak side more. But they tend to, if you work on one side, the other side, when you get to it, it's going to be easier than the first side. Because they do remember a little bit about what you did. And every mule's different. There's a second time she stood there calm for it. There's a third. Let me get one more. There's a fourth. Okay. Now, is that all I'm going to do with that mule on that technique? Absolutely not. But that's all I'm going to do right now. And then when I'm working on something else and I need to get to a stopping point, well then I'll quit that particular technique and I'll go back to that. So I'm going to continue to work on these things, and I'll repeat them several times, but I don't just sit and drill it in over and over and over with the mule, because I just won't work with them. They think too much. They don't understand why you're doing it over and over and over. It bothers them, and then you get nowhere with the mule. If you get your mule upset, you might as well quit. because you've got yourself into a spot where they're not in a frame of mind to learn. So, my mule's doing a pretty good job of letting me handle her with the tools. I can throw my rope around her. This is going, you know, fairly easy because she's not a mule that's just been brought off the pasture and not handled. She's been on a dry lot for the last 2 months. She's been handled, and so she's not a wild mule, but this is all new to her. This may go completely different on a mule that's just off the pasture and not used to being handled. So the situation I got myself into a minute ago was the rope came down around the back legs, she felt trapped and she pulled away. Now that happens. I mean, I have a friend who was recently roping, and he was practicing, he was roping out, team roping, and a rope got stuck underneath the tail of a horse in this case, and he ended up coming off and breaking 3 or 4 ribs because the horse was surprised by that, wasn't prepared for a rope being back there behind its tail. So since I know that this might bother this mule, I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to do it on purpose. And watch how I do it. I'm going to set myself up here in front to make sure that I'm safe. I'm way up here. So as you looked around to see how I got that rope on that side while I'm on this side. So I'm going to flip this back, making sure I'm in a safe spot, and I put that back there on purpose. Now, from what we just did a minute ago, okay, that's not what I wanted. What I want is for her to feel that pressure back there and move away from it. It slid over her butt again. I'll try it from the other side. Oh. Work with her for a minute, see if I can set it up where I get what I was after. So I'm just going to leave that on her. That's upsetting her. I'm going to leave that on her, and when she stops, I'll take it off. So what I was after there is to be able to throw that rope around the back end. When I pull on it, the pressure on the back end move her hip around. You'll see that in a minute. We'll get there. But I backed up for a second, realized that I needed to take a step back.